So now we have the trans mafia push, yeah? Forget about it. So rather than doing an in-depth breakdown of all the trans mafia, we're just going to have a gander, a little walk and a little stroll at where and how the Marxist identitarians are pushing their critical gender theory, similar to critical race theory in its attempt to destroy the nuclear family, but this time focused on what's between your pants. Or not. A biological sex and female-destroying ideology, mostly targeting the young through woke cartoons, commercials, and their teachers. You're a bastard. In school. Which all seem to be getting worse and worse day by day until what? Huh? What's the end goal, you think? Well, let's have a look and see what we can see, huh? So first up, let's have a little look at the cartoons and show that your little ones are watching while you're out the room, busy. So how about Blue's Clues, huh? A show aimed at the very young, perhaps 3 to 6 year olds, where you learn about letters and numbers and the sexual habits of adults.
Hey Blue, look at all these families! Hi families! It's time for a pride parade. Families marching one by one, hurrah, hurrah. Families marching one by one, hurrah, hurrah. This family has 2 mommies, they love each other so proudly, and they all go marching in the big parade.
Now let's have a look at the Nickelodeon network, targeting a slightly older audience this time, with such classics as Doug, Rugrats, and Cat Dog. And now drag queens, pushing the communist red salute and critical gender theory.
Navy blue, pink and white represent transgender people, because every letter in LGBTQ plus is equal. And black and brown represent the queer and trans people of color.
And how about Drag Time Story Time, where a convicted paedophile who was dressed up in full drag was reading stories to babies and toddlers? Or the myriad of woke commercials pumped out hour by hour, pushing race and gender politics in the faces of the young and the impressionable. Now, just to say that there was this time in my childhood where I was absolutely convinced if I could just get hold of some of this radioactive waste that everyone just kept talking about in all these comic books, finally I'd be able to unleash my hidden superpower and become the hero I was destined to be. And thank goodness, my friend, no one ever took me seriously and poured toxic waste all over me. Where we now have babies and trans children, you know what I mean? Little tiny ones who have no idea, they just want sausages and to kick footballs and play. Basically, that means you have regular children who have a parent or two that have become completely indoctrinated by the woke cultists and have projected this gender ideology onto their own child. Then as a virtue signal, I am so virtuous. Light shines out my ass. Then as a virtue signal to double down on the whole affair, they have their child surgically altered to fit their own perception, regardless of the costs or the casualties down the line. There are now trans girls dominating female sports, with runners smashing records, handball players trampling over those in the way, and weightlifters the size of fucking mountains who are trying to compete at the Tokyo Olympics. Hold that, babe. With any of the biological women, or just women, who try to raise the unfairness and differences between the body structures of actual women and a man who has been taking estrogens for 3 months, grown his hair out and not chopped his balls off yet. Well, they've just told to shut the fuck up and be quiet, all right? And keep those pretty little lips shut, if you know what's good for you. Though increasingly we see the young, the scared, and the truly brave speaking out against the injustice that is being foisted upon them, much to the hatred of the mainstream media and far left and the liberals that used to be. Where we're now finding out that one of the most interesting revelations that the pandemic has laid upon us is the widespread teachers' anger at parents listening in on the Zoom lessons that they give to the students during quarantine, and everybody realizing and seeing for themselves that they were hardly even studying the subjects at hand. Teacher, we're doing maths, right? Why are you talking about my balls? hardly even studying the subjects at hand, but rather each teacher was taking it in turn to indoctrinate your children with critical race or gender theory, both, constantly and repeatedly, with multiple teachers who you pay through your taxes or privately, filmed freaking the fuck out and screaming at your children when they dare to ask a question or challenge any one of their terrible ideas. Treating you, the parents, as the enemy and your children to be kept as far away from you as possible and the principles that you may hold, whatever they may be. The teachers and those sneaking into politics and their social media posts, their emails, their bios, and the content that they show are all pro-critical race theory and critical gender theory. They are full-out self-admitted Marxists most of the time, along with being on the radical left, with pronouns in their bios: he, she, him, attack helicopter, they, them, slug, tomato, bullshit. With pronouns in their bios alongside black fist emojis and punch Nazis under rainbow flags, because they want your children to be as anti-patriotic as they are, by teaching them a fake and debunked version of history, the 1619 Project, tearing down the statues of your heroes and your founders, deriding your greatest achievements, and isolating the children from their families. Like every f***ing good cult does. Other countries are banning wokeness, critical race theory and critical gender theory, and even feminism outright, instead promoting the wonders and benefits of both masculinity and femininity. Wanting racial harmony and traditional family values and rights for all, where these bloody lunatics in the West have started a war on boys, denigrating all masculinity as toxic, all men as stupid, and all of whiteness as a literal health crisis to be eradicated. Now, I am not pro any race. But the minute one race of people start saying that they want to eradicate another race of people, whichever ones they are, red guys versus purple, blue versus indigo, and all the rest, yeah? I think we should just all start to pay attention to it, yeah? And just start to slightly get concerned, all right? With the president of the United States using the fucking term birth people rather than woman. Woman, you know a woman, I got to be a woman, I got the feeling of transphobe. The Stonewalls organisation starting a bloody extortion racket where they go to companies, tell them to give them money to vet their policies regarding diversity and equity, or they will scream to the news that they're bloody far right. A law student being cleared of misconduct after daring to utter the phrase that women have vaginas. At a lecture she was given. The feminists who championed and actually progressed the cause of the past have been excommunicated by the young and the stupid, being labelled as TERFs, trans exclusionary radical feminists. So goodbye to you lot too. Piss off. With Rand Paul, one of the only good ones left, man, with the crazy hair, boop, has been arguing in the Senate with Rachel Levine, a trans person themselves, yeah? And Biden's nominee for Assistant Health Secretary, who is unsurprisingly pro-trans surgery on young children. And all this alongside women being sexually assaulted by men who identify as women in women's prisons and women's refuges and women's toilets. Knocked that one out of the park, didn't I, son? All while your achievements, ladies. You lovely, lovely ladies. We love you all, you know that. All of you. Delicious. While all your achievements are being crushed and rewritten, and your children are being force-fed this rubbish more and more. So I'm sorry, ladies, my little sweet ladies, my sweet, sweet lady. Your kindness was just weakness, and it seems you effectively destroyed yourselves with this one, babes. Alongside all of those good men that you would have helped you, but you railroaded them, calling them toxic, huh? Bloody hell. All right. Let's hope this one's not too late too.